This video is sponsored by Masamune Studio. They're one of the largest online gunpla and kotobukiya hobby store. So head on to their website and visit msmnstudio.com to check their premium selection of model kits and wide selection of tools, paints, building materials, and many more. Link in the description. Hi everyone, A Gunpla here. Thank you for joining me for this video, and today we're gonna do something different. This video is directed to the people who are thinking to get into the hobby but are wondering, is it going to be expensive? Or how much do they need to start the hobby? So I'm creating this video in order to determine how much do we need or what is the bare minimum in order to start the hobby. So what I did is that I went to my nearest dollar store and tried to get some substitute for the tools that we need in order to get into the hobby. So first, what I got is a cutting mat as well as a hobby knife. So this costs around $4 in my nearest dollar store. For Canadians, it's Dollarama or $3. So I got this from Dollarama. And if you're in the Philippines, you could actually go to your nearest surplus store, such as Daiso or some Japanese surplus, and you can get something similar. When I went to a dollar store, I'm gonna look for a replacement, and I saw something that could be a replacement for the nippers. So I went there and saw this toenail nipper. So the size is pretty much the same. Actually, if you compare, it's pretty much the same. But I haven't tried this yet, so I'm gonna do a little comparison later in this video. So if you want to check it, just stay tuned and see if this one is good enough as the basic nippers. Next, I got the sanding sponge. So this is a fairly cheap sanding sponge that I've been using since I started the hobby until now. So this costs around $1.25, and it has a lot of sides in it. So you have the rough side, or you have the rough side there, and then you have the polish. So you could actually remove the knob marks and then finish it with the buff and polish. So this is around, or this is $1.25, and this is $4 as well. So it's similar to the mat and the hobby knife. So all in all, it's around $9.25. So my goal when I went to the dollar store is that I want to begin, or I want to start the hobby around $20 or less. So with all the things that I bought as a replacement or as a substitute for the other stuff that you need, you could actually begin the hobby, or you could start the hobby using all of this, and you won't need anything else until you customize your gunpla. So for the kit itself, Bandai has a lot of cheaper kit that will go in the budget. And the first thing that comes to my mind is the recently released entry grade, which is really amazing, and it has a lot of good reviews out there. So you could start the hobby, or you could begin the hobby with it. So this is the RX-78-2 Gundam. So this is an entry grade from Bandai, and it has a lot of good review, which is a good starting point for beginners. And you could actually start the hobby by trying it. So I went in with a $20 budget, and what I got is the entry grade, which is around $10.95 Canadian dollars. And then I got the nipper substitute, which is $4. And then the sanding sponge, which is $1.25. And then the cutting mat with the hobby knife, which is $4. So all in all, we have a total of $20.20. So we're a little bit above the budget, but it's acceptable because it's just 20 cents. Without further ado, we're gonna try these tools and let's see if it works and if it's somewhat compatible with the actual things that you need. So let's go. First, let's try to compare the nippers. So again, this nipper is $4 and this nipper is around $15. So let's start with our actual nipper. There are other nippers that are good than this, but this is the most basic nippers from Gadan that you could buy. And you can see that's the cut of it. So we're gonna see if this works. It actually has a curve in it because it's a toenail nipper, but you could actually use the tip in order to cut it. So the one on the right is the $4 nipper, and the one on the left is the $15 nipper. So they're pretty much the same when it comes to the cutting. And we're gonna try this in a piece. So we're gonna remove a piece from the runner. So first we're gonna use the standard nipper. So we're gonna do the actual removal. So we're just gonna go a little deeper or a little longer for the from the runner. So the feel of the cut is a little sharper. So that's the cut. And then for the next one, we're gonna use the $4 nipper. So again, they just cut pretty similar, but for the $15 nipper, it felt a little sharper. So here you need to give a little more press into it or pressure into it in order to cut it. But the cut is pretty much the same. Look. So the blue one is from the $4 nipper, and the gray one is the one from the $15 nipper. So next is we're gonna try the hobby knife. I have the same hobby knife from the dollar store that I've been using since I started the hobby, and it works nice. It does the job cutting the additional runner from the part. So let's try to clean this up and see if it works. So as long as it's sharp and you keep changing the blades, it's gonna do its job. Pretty much you're able to clean the parts. So here is our sanding sponge. So the good thing about this is that it has 7 different types of grit or coarseness. So you have number 1 and number 2, which is the most coarse, and then 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7, which is the polish and buffer. So we're gonna try to clean up this nub mark, and I'm just, because it's just a few nub mark, I'm just gonna start with the smooth coarseness, and let's see if we could clean it up. You can see we managed to remove the knob mark. And then you could use the different grit. If the knob mark is a little bigger, you could use the more coarse side, but I just use a little smoother, but in order to avoid scratching the part. And in order to remove the sanding marks, we could actually buff it. And then polish it. So there you go. So this sanding sponge works really good because I've been using this for a while. Again, if you're having second thoughts about the hobby because it could be expensive, you could actually try it and start the hobby for $20 or less. And the substitute tools that we've found from the dollar store, they actually work and they're pretty cheap compared to the regular one that you need to buy. And if you're thinking that this is just an entry grade, this costs $10, but there's a lot of high grades out there that cost around $15 to $20. So if you have a little more money, you could begin with those. So one example is the Leo, which is around $15, and the IBO kit, the Barbatos, which is around $15 as well. There are a lot of affordable kits out there that you could begin the hobby with. The example that I shown you is the bare minimum that you need in order to start the hobby. For more affordable kits like this, you could visit Masamune Studio for more kits like this and a wide selection of tools, paints, and many more that you might need for the hobby. If you find this video useful, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I really appreciate it because it helps the channel to grow. Please share it to your friends, especially to those who wants to get into the hobby. You don't need much to start the hobby, and I recommend testing the waters. Go to your nearest surplus stores or dollar stores and get something similar in order to start the hobby and start building.